Mogul Mastery is brought to you by Spyder. The performance is built in, the rest is up to you. By Rosinal, sheer defiance. By Valio Sport Belts, back support for every sport. And by Steamboat, the place to ski. Now here's Olympic medalist and World Cup champion Nelson Carmichael.
Boy, these high-speed lifts are great, aren't they? Back up to the top for another couple thousand feet of great bump skiing. You know, people often ask me, what's a secret to skiing moguls? And I always ask them in return, well, what's the biggest problem that you're having in the bumps? And you know what? The replies are always different. So that's why I've designed Mogul Mastery, to answer all your questions about bump skiing, no matter what your current ability level is.
While we're on the way up, I wanted to mention how important it is to listen, watch, and actually feel what's happening on screen, so when you get out on the hill, you can begin to perform all of these new techniques. Now, to help you relate to the techniques being demonstrated, I will be skiing with a couple of other skiers, teaching them and teaching you simultaneously. Even though everyone skis differently and at different ability levels, we are all striving for the same skiing goals. So let's get started.
Now I have the pleasure of skiing with my sister, Catherine Carmichael, who's a music teacher here in Steamboat. And all those years I was off training and competing and skiing all over the world, she's been here in Steamboat teaching and performing music with kids of all ages. So she hasn't skied nearly as much as you might think growing up here in Ski Town, USA. You ready to get started?
Sure.
Okay, let's go.
Although Catherine is fairly comfortable on her skis, like all of us, she could use some improvement. We're going to first work on her hip angulation and leg pressure, then speed control, consistency, pole plants, and her overall stance. Then we'll work on the same things in the moguls, plus we'll add in absorption, extension, some tactics, and we'll do a couple of jumps.
Okay, Kath, one of the most common problems that intermediate type bump skiers have is they use their hips and upper body to help them turn, but what happens is they get all twisted up and it's actually harder to get into that next turn.
Sure.
So what we're going to do is a power wedge type progression where you're going to have your tips together and your tails apart. And then in order to turn, you're going to transfer your weight over to that new side and steer your foot around into the turn, okay?
So use your foot more.
Right, so I want you to leave your tips together and tails apart and just stay in that wedge. You ready?
Let's try it.
All right.
Now Catherine does a good job with the power plow. You want to keep your tips together and your tails apart. The idea is to have all of your body weight on one leg and stand on that ski. Then switch over to the other leg and stand on that ski, staying in the wedge. You should feel a good amount of pressure in your hips. Now here's Catherine from behind doing a good job of keeping her weight over her downhill ski in each turn. What you want to watch out for is to turn your upper body towards your tips. You want to keep your upper body instead facing down the hill. It may feel funny to snowplow again, but this is a great progression to go through to feel the pressure you need on your skis. As you stay in a wedge, shift your body over on top of one leg and steer your foot through the turn. Shift your weight to the other leg and steer through.
Nice, Kath. So what'd you feel in your hips?
Well, when I stay in the wedge like that, I can really feel the weight transition from one side to the other.
Okay, good. That's good. You want to feel all that pressure drain from one side to the other as you're turning from side to side, keeping your upper body facing down the hill. Okay? So what we're going to do now is a stem Christie, where you're going to turn parallel across the hill. Go ahead and plant your pole down the hill. You're going to slide your uphill tail up, then move all your weight to that side and steer around. All right? Looks something like this.
With the same feeling as the power plow, center your weight over your downhill ski. Steer your foot, and as you finish your turn, slide your uphill tail back to parallel. Plant your pole, slide your uphill ski's tail up, transfer your weight, and steer through to parallel. Now Catherine's got a good grasp on the stem Christie, but you can see right here she picks up her inside ski to get it to slide into parallel. You don't need to do that. Just keep both skis on the ground. You're going to snowplow and then slide into parallel without picking it up. Now as you're doing the stem Christie, be sure to keep your upper body facing down the hill as much as possible.
Okay, good. Now let's go ahead and ski parallel like I know you know how to do, but I want you to maintain that feeling of constant pressure from one leg right into the other as you keep your upper body facing down the hill.
Okay.
All right, let's do it.
Now as you turn parallel again, you want to maintain the same feeling that you had in the power plow, with all your pressure on one leg and then all the pressure in the other. Be sure to be on your downhill ski throughout the turn. You can see right here, Catherine still picks up that inside ski just as in the power plow. As much as possible, you want to feel constant pressure on your skis. All your weight on one leg, then all your weight on the other. As soon as you plant your pole, shift your weight onto the other leg and into the new turn.
Kath, you're looking great. Now you want to make sure that you're standing right in the center of your skis all the time, okay? So here's something you can do before you start out each run. I want you to stand right up. Stand up as tall as you can. That's it. Stand up. Stand up.
Really?
Okay. Now bend your knees a little bit and just relax. All right? I want you to ski just like that. Feel how you're on the center of your feet and you're feeling the front of your boots.
Yeah.
Okay? You can ski just like that.
It's like this.
Yep. You don't
I
have to be.
thought you need to be more hunched over.
No, not at all. You can ski nice and tall. Bend your knees a little bit and relax. Okay?
Okay.
Here we
let's
go.
try it.
In general, Catherine has a real good stance on her skis. She stands right on the center of her foot, but she's a little bit back with her hips and her legs are a little straight. You want to feel the front of your boots with a little bit more knee bend than that. A good stance on your skis is crucial. Start off every run standing tall with your chest up, hips forward, knees bent, feeling the front of your boots and standing on the center of your feet. Keep this stance as long as possible throughout your run.
Okay, Kath, now in order to keep up with the bumps that we're about to ski soon, you need to be able to turn consistently. Okay, so we're gonna start off with some wider turns across the hill, then get tighter and tighter, keeping good pressure on our skis.
Okay.
Now Catherine in these wide turns is looking pretty good, but you can see right here she's really banking into the hill, and that means that she's lost that hip angulation that she learned back in the power plow. You really want to stand on your downhill ski. That'll get your hip angulated and it'll keep your body weight over the downhill ski, like right here. This is much better as she's moving into tighter turns. And now as she moves into even tighter turns, just edge to edge across the hill, it's a bit easier for her to keep her upper body facing down the hill and her hips underneath her. You can see a little bit of snow sliding out to the side. That's a sign that her turn's a little bit late. She could get pressure earlier up in the turn. Now in these wide turns, it's fairly easy to maintain consistency. As you move into tighter turns, keep good pressure on your downhill ski throughout the turn. You should feel the same pressure on your legs as in the power plow exercise, even in these quick edge-to-edge turns.
Hey, your lower body turning action looks way better.
All right.
Now let's take a look at your arms.
Oh boy, it should be interesting.
Yeah, well, let's do it.
Catherine's pole plants look quite good. She reaches for every new turn and has a fairly solid plant with her pole and drives her arm over. Catherine reaches down the hill real well with her basket first, but she needs to hang on to her grip a little bit tighter. Reach your arm down the fall line as far as possible. Lead with your basket. Plant lightly and immediately drive your hand down the hill as your other arm begins to reach out for the next turn.
Okay, Kath, reach out down the hill and make a definite pole plant. Need to be a little stronger with it.
Okay.
Now, as Catherine's moving through these quick turns, her pole plants look pretty solid. She needs to hang on to that grip a little bit tighter, and then after the pole plants, make sure to drive your arm down the hill. Unlike your upper body or the position of your skis, the fall line is always constant. So remember to reach down the fall line to plant your poles.
Okay, Kath, now as we head into the moguls, I want you to think about the exact same things that we worked on in the flats. All right, standing in the center of your skis, feeling the front of your boots, keeping your hips face down the hill as you reach right out for the pole plant right down the fall line before each new turn. Okay?
Should be enough to think about.
Yeah, it is, but just keep a list of all these new techniques in your head, but concentrate on one thing at a time. That way you'll be able to keep everything in check. Okay? Let's head to the bumps. Okay, Kevin, stop for a second here. Now, one of the most common problems that intermediate bump skiers have is poor speed control. So we're going to get a grip on that right now.
Okay.
You remember what we were doing out in the flats with the stance?
That's right. You want to be nice and tall, standing on the center of your feet, feeling the front of your boots.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then from there, what you want to do is really push on the downhill ski each time. So into each bump, you're really going to push on your edges and drive into each mogul.
Okay.
Give that a go.
All right.
Now remember that you want to use the same good turns that you can do out on a groomed run in the moguls. You can see right here, Catherine runs into trouble by not getting on her downhill ski early enough, and it slides out on her. Think about the power plow with really good pressure into each mogul and onto each new turn. Maintain the same amount of pressure on your edge by standing on your downhill ski and driving your knee to the inside of the turn.
All right, good job, good job. Okay, now make sure to keep the same amount of pressure in each and every turn. Okay, it's got to be consistent. You have to have the same amount of pressure every single turn. All right, does that make sense?
Gotcha.
Okay, but keeping that good pressure is only half the battle, really. You also have to make sure that your skis come across the fall line each and every turn at the same angle. Okay, so you want to make every turn just like the one you just completed with the same amount of pressure and the same angle across the hill.
Okay.
Okay, so let's put both those together now.
All right.
Be sure to turn your skis across the hill at the same angle each turn. Catherine's a little bit stronger on her right leg, and so that side, her turns come across the hill a little farther than on the left leg. Make sure to keep them consistent. Keep strong pressure on your edge by standing on your downhill leg, and turn your skis across the hill at the same angle in each and every turn.
All right, good. Now, do those turns feel like the same ones we were doing out on the flats?
Yeah, except for the bumps.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you have to do in the bumps that you don't necessarily have to do out in the flats? Or what more do you have to do?
More absorption with your legs.
Right, exactly. You have
And
to
extend in the
absorb and extend as the terrain goes up and down, okay? So first what you want to think about is the extension, actually. Okay, so if you come into a bump like this right here, you can see how it's going to drop away down into the next bump. So you really want to think about pushing down and extending. Then as soon as you feel that next bump on your feet or on your skis, you suck it up, bring your knees up right underneath you and absorb, okay?
Makes sense.
And extend back down through. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's add that absorption and extension in.
Now Catherine just needs to absorb a little bit more. She needs to bring her knees and her feet up underneath her. You can see right here that her feet get out a little bit in front of her. You want to suck your feet up underneath you. Keep your heels under your hips. So when you extend, your feet are again straight down beneath you. As soon as you feel your skis start to hit a bump, start absorbing by pulling your knees up beneath you. And extend by pushing your feet straight down on the snow as the bump drops away.
All right, good, that looks great. Now make sure when you go to extend that you push down straight beneath you, okay? You don't want to push out in front, that'll just get you back.
Right.
So you want to keep it right down beneath you, all right? And then when you absorb, when you feel that mogul coming up, bring those knees way up there. You got a lot of room, a lot of range. Go ahead and bring them up some more.
Okay.
Okay?
Let's
Do it some more. Here we go.
Now Catherine can get away without absorbing so much at these slower speeds, but as she goes faster and faster, she needs to absorb more. Now you can see she still likes to pick up that inside ski a little bit. Keep your skis on the snow. Every skier has lots of room to absorb. Remember to use all of your range of motion by sucking the bump up, absorbing with your knees, then extending your legs all the way out again. Every bump.
All right, Kath, your absorption and extension is looking way better. You're sucking it up a little better, can still go farther, and then remember to push right back down beneath you, okay?
It feels a lot less rugged and I feel more in control and smoother.
Good, good. All right, now let's concentrate on the upper body. Remember the stuff we did in the flats with your upper body and your pole plants?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to reach out down the hill, basket first, your grip up to plant your pole, and as soon as it plants, you want to drive it right down the hill. All right, you remember that?
Okay, but when I was in the flats, I just kind of reached it out and put it anywhere. Does it matter where I put it in relation to the moguls?
Well, not really. Don't worry so much about the moguls. Think about where in the turn, okay? Because when you plant your pole, what's that mean about the turn you just did?
That one's completed.
Yeah, exactly. That turn's over. It's time to turn the next direction, okay? So, same thing in the bumps, all right? Just reach out, basket first, down the hill, plant it in at the end of the turn, and then drive it right down through as the new one reaches out for the next turn.
Okay.
Okay, just reach and drive through the bumps. Ready?
Catherine's arms look real good in the moguls. She still needs to hang on to her grips a bit tighter. And she has a tendency to leave her arm back behind her slightly. After your pole plant, drive it right down the hill. Just as on the flats, before each turn, reach your arm down the fall line. And with your basket first, lightly plant your pole. As soon as it plants, drive your hand down the hill, leading with the top of your grip.
Okay, good job. Arms are looking good. Now remember, hang on to your pole there. Okay, you don't want to plant too much out to the side like this. Okay, too much out to the side. You want to make sure that you reach out right downhill and be powerful when you reach, okay? And then drive it right over, downhill, okay? Reach downhill, drive it downhill, all right? Don't let them get too much out to the side.
Okay.
Okay, so we've covered basically all the techniques that we went over in the flats and now all the techniques in the moguls. So we can go ahead and move into some tactics now, okay? So the first thing I wanted to show you is kind of what I call going on the high line through the bumps, all right? So you see this bump right here, going off this direction? Okay, basically it points pretty much down the hill right here, okay? But what you can do is actually turn further across the hill and end up a little bit higher on the bump. So you don't have to let the angle of the mogul always dictate where your turn is going to be across the hill. Okay, it doesn't always have to be right there. You can always turn more across the hill than the bump looks like. You can turn right up high on it. All right, looks kind of like this.
This is the general direction of one bump in this line. Now keep in mind that you can always turn across the hill as far as you like on any bump to control your speed.
Now, if you'd like to take an even slower pace through the bumps, you can ski two lines side by side. Okay, so what you want to do is turn once in this line here, cross over into the line next door, turn once there, cross over back again into your original line. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay, so what you want to do is actually look for places that will help you turn. Look for each one of those bumps that'll help you make a turn, cross over, turn, cross over. Looks something like this.
Of course, you could ski all the way across the hill looking for a place to turn, but you want to narrow your choices down to 2 or 3 lines, absorbing the bumps as you cross over.
Excellent. All right, looks good. How'd you like that?
Well, it's definitely slower. A little bit confusing though, because the focus is more across the hill instead of down.
Right, because what you want to do, you're doing fine. You want to turn in one line, and then instead of turning back again in that same line, you want to cross over and turn into the line next door. Then cross over, turn again back. So it's a little bit different than just jamming down the line, but I think you like it a little bit slower. Yeah, okay? So let's try it again, all right? Same thing, turn and then cross over.
Even if you've never been in bumps before, this approach will get you down a mogul run without too many problems. Just keep looking for places which will help you turn. Eventually, those places will become closer and closer together.
Okay, Catherine, now I'd like to show you something called high-low. And what I mean by that is to ski a line but move over from center just slightly to one side. Okay? So you see this line right here? It's real powdery, but you see those left and right? So you see that line?
The deep grooves there.
Exactly. Now, instead of skiing right in the center of that line, we're going to move over about a foot to the right. And this time you're going to ski over that bump on the right and then just trim the bump on the left.
Right.
Over the bump on the right, trim on the left. Right, that's the high-low. It's just skiing the same line, but just moving over slightly from center.
Okay.
So I'll give you a demonstration, and then you give it a go.
Okay.
Okay, Kath, now that time we went high, low, to the right. Moved over from center to the right looking down,
Right.
okay? This time we'll do high, low, but move over to the left. So you're gonna still ski the same line, but move over to the left about a foot or two.
Okay.
Okay, looks like this. I'll go ahead and go, and then you give it a try.
Okay.
Stay in the line. Just move over from center so you ski more on top of the mogul on one side of the line and low on the mogul on the other side. High, low.
Good, that's it. Low, high, low, good, nice. All right. Good, Catherine. Now that you know how to ski high, low like that, where do you think you could use it if you're skiing through a mogul run?
Well, as you're coming down the line and the bumps are bigger on one side than the other, you could use that technique.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's for. And what you want to concentrate on is doing it ahead of time, okay? So you're looking down a line as you're skiing it. If you see a big mogul on one side of the line, well, then just move over to the low side and ski high, low right past it.
Sounds
Okay?
good.
All right, so why don't we take a break, and when we come back, Catherine's going to catch some air.
Valio, back support for every sport. Call 1-800-634-2704.
Okay, Catherine, this looks like a good air bump. So let's take a closer look at what you need to do for successful jumps.
Sounds
What
good.
you want to do a lot of times, you're skiing down, you see a nice air bump, do exactly what we're doing. Stop, check it out. Take a look at the landing. Take a look at the jump itself. Take a look at the line coming into it. Then hike up the hill a little bit and go off. Okay, so let's do that.
Okay.
First of all, ski into the bump slowly. Then in the transition, let your skis run straight. Reach with your poles and with your hips forward, pop hard with your legs. You want to think about going up, not out so much. To achieve a perfect 4-point landing, keep your eyes up, reach forward with your arms, keep your hips and feet underneath you, and with a slight bend in your knees, absorb the impact. Here's Catherine now with her first attempt at a twister. She gets a good takeoff, plants both poles at the top of the jump, and twists her skis in the air and lands 4-point. Excellent job. Get a good 4-point takeoff with your hips up, then with your legs tight, spread your legs as open as you can. Bring your legs back together and land in the same position as in the takeoff. Arms forward and looking ahead. After your skis leave the snow, squeeze your legs together and twist everything from your hips down to one side. To counter this lower body movement, drive your opposite arm downhill with your other arm out to the side. Bring your skis back to center and reach for the landing. Now for a double twister, continue the momentum you built up after the first twister right on through to the other side. Remember to counter with the opposite arm again. Then point your arms and your skis down the hill and reach for the landing.
Now we've covered just about everything you need to know about mogul skiing. We've gone through technique, tactics, speed control, and we've even done some jumping.
Should have it down, huh?
Yeah, so how about a run putting everything together, the whole package?
Okay.
You up
sounds
for
great.
it?
Sure.
The main things to remember when skiing any bump run are to maintain the same good turns you can do out on a groomed run. Plan ahead, absorb and extend with your legs, reach and drive with your arms, and control your speed. Now when you go to jump, slow down, get a good takeoff, keep your eyes up, and reach for the landing. As soon as you land, control your speed by getting good pressure back on your skis.
right, good job, good job.
I'm not an expert yet, but
Hey, that was good
I feel like I
skiing.
got lots to work with.
Yeah, well, good skiing. Just remember all those things, okay? A couple of pointers. Remember to keep your upper body facing down the hill all the time. All right? And keep pushing on the downhill leg into each mogul. Try to follow the line, push the downhill leg into each bump as you reach your hands down the hill. Really keep the upper body facing down the hill, okay?
Yeah.
And of course, remember to absorb. You need some more absorption.
For sure.
So those are a few tips to remember, but overall, it was great skiing. It was great to ski with you. I've got some more people to catch up with now, but hopefully we'll get to do it again soon.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Appreciate it.
See ya. Say hello to Barton Crane. Now Barton's from Boulder, Colorado, so he gets to ski great areas all the time. And you know, he even competes in some mogul contests once in a while. But like a lot of us, he could use a little bit of tuning up. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I've been skiing for 22 years. I'm still learning. I need to control my speed better. I get going too fast like I'm riding the pony. I think I need to keep my skis on the snow.
All right, well, we're gonna go through a couple progressions on the flats here first, then we'll head over to the moguls, all right?
Sounds great.
Here we go.
It may appear that Barton skis great, and he does. It's just in the bumps where he runs into a little bit of trouble. First, I'm going to show him how and where to switch his leg pressure, then move on to his arms and pole plants. When we head into the moguls, we'll go through a couple more tactics, as well as body position and speed control. Then we'll do quite a few jumps. Let's see what happens.
Okay, Barton, why don't we go ahead and stop and go through the first progression. What I wanted to do was show you a little bit about switching. Do you know what I mean by that?
I think so.
Okay, at the end of each turn, your downhill leg will move back a little bit and your uphill leg moves forward, all right? Okay. What we want to do is take that action up way up early in the turn so that by the same time you're planning your pull, you're going to switch onto that new ski, put pressure on it, and then start to steer your foot around. You ready for that?
Okay.
All right.
As Barton skis through these nice long turns, you can see that he does have good switching action. He plants his pole, switches his pressure onto his new ski, and steers around. He just needs more pressure once he switches. As soon as you plant your pole, switch your leg position by moving your downhill ski forward and then transferring all of your weight to your other ski. When this is accomplished, as soon as you plant your pole, you'll have great pressure way up early in the turn. This switching action early in the turn will have you on your way to nice, round, carved turns. Remember to switch as soon as you plant your pole.
Hey, all right, those are some real nice turns, Bart. Now, does it feel different to you when you switch? At the same time you make that pole plant, you switch on a new ski versus when you don't?
Yeah, I feel like when I don't, I gain speed and I start to lose control. But when I get that transition, I feel like I have better contact.
Okay, great. Now remember, you have a tendency a little bit to have a vague spot in between the turns. In other words, you don't get that switch in there quite early enough, and so you have this kind of dead spot, and then you get on the edge, all right? Okay. So remember all this stuff that we did here in the flats, and we'll take the exact same stuff into the moguls after we go through this next progression.
All right.
All right?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Now here's the vague spot I was talking about. As soon as you plant your pole, you want to stand on your new downhill ski. Right here, you want to put all your weight on your downhill ski and steer through. You should feel constant pressure from one leg and then into the other. Plant your pole and switch onto your new ski. At the same time you plant your pole, put all your weight onto your new downhill ski. That'll give you that nice round carved turn.
So Barton, say we're on a real steep hill here, and you had your skis going across the fall line. You're about to make the next turn. Show me where you'd plant your pole. Okay, that's pretty good. You'd want to reach it straight out down the hill, okay, with your basket first,
Okay.
and your grip facing up just like that, and reached out away from your body.
Okay.
That's good. Now what would you do with your other pole, your other arm? All right. Again, you'd want to drive it right down the hill. You don't need that basket yet, okay, not up in there. Just drive the hand down the hill, and that helps keep your upper body also facing down the hill, ready for that next turn.
All right.
All right, so we'll go through a little progression here of just that. We're going to side slip right down through, plant the pole, and slide into the next one.
That was good.
By side slipping, you don't even have to think about your turn and you can concentrate on your arms. Remember to reach your arm out straight down the fall line, leading with your basket. As soon as it plants, drive the top of your fist downhill and begin to reach your other arm out for the next turn. Keep your head up by looking far ahead. Be sure to separate your upper and lower body. You can see Barton is still following his tips around with his upper body and his arms. Keep it separate, reach down the hill. Keep the same arm movements now as you start to add the turns back in. Reach out and down the fall line, then drive. Feel your upper body constantly facing down the fall line as your skis move back and forth across the hill. Now Barton keeps his pole plants down the hill better in these short turns, but he's a little bit heavy on the plant. Plant your pole lightly, then drive your hand over. Reach down the hill, drive down the hill. Barton, really nice. Nice hands. You starting to feel some of that reaching and driving?
Yeah, when my hands get back and they follow the tips around, it's harder to get in the next turn. I feel like I'm playing catch-up.
Okay, so remember that when we go into the moguls, how important it is to reach that downhill arm out, and then as soon as it plants, to drive it right over, okay? So you can use that power in the bumps.
All right.
You ready for some action?
Definitely.
Let's take a quick time out as Barton and I head up the lift.
I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.
As we ski into the moguls, I want you to concentrate now on the exact same things that we were doing out on the flats. So let's first go ahead and make sure that switching action is still happening.
So should I switch my leg pressure into the new turn as I pole plant?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be quite as pronounced as we were doing out on the flats, but you just want to make sure that you get into that new turn nice and early.
All right.
Let's go.
Now Barton's doing a pretty good job of keeping up with the switch in the moguls. You gotta remember it's the same exact technique. Plant your pole, switch to your downhill ski, and put pressure on it. Barton could use a little bit more pressure once he switches onto his new ski. Just as out on a groomed run, switch onto your new turn by standing on your downhill leg as soon as you plant your pole. Notice how my downhill knee is lower than my uphill knee in each turn. This means most of my weight is on my downhill ski.
All right, Barton, your switching action's coming along nicely. Let's go ahead and take a look at your arms and pole plants, okay? You want to remember to reach right out down the hill to plant your pole, and then as soon as it plants, drive it down the hill, okay?
Gotcha.
Barton has some nice pole plants going here. He leads with his basket real well. But you can see when he drives his arm over that it's too far down by his knees, and he needs to reach down the hill farther, reach away from your body. It doesn't matter what kind of terrain you're skiing, always reach down the fall line to plant your pole. As soon as it plants, drive the top of your fist down the fall line.
Okay, now we've covered the two progressions that we went through out on the flats, but tell me what's different that you have to do in the moguls that you don't necessarily have to do out in the groomed run.
Pop some air jumps?
Well, besides that, you need to absorb and extend through every bump, okay?
Okay.
Let's go.
Now Barton uses most of his range with his legs to absorb the bumps, but he runs into a little bit of trouble by looking down and then getting his upper body hinged over. Keep looking down the hill with your chest up as you absorb. As soon as you feel the bump, bring your knees up to absorb, then immediately extend your legs out and press your hips forward. You want your skis on the snow as much as possible. Absorb and extend through every mogul.
In order to control your speed, Barton, you need to make every turn just like the last one, okay?
Okay.
You want to turn across the hill at the same angle and apply the same amount of pressure on every turn. Because if you slack off at all in the bumps, you'll be way out of control and have to bail out.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay, let's go.
Consistency is the name of the game in mogul skiing. Make every new turn the same as the one just completed. The same amount of pressure and turn across the hill at the same angle every time. Maintain the same speed from start to finish, even if you're skiing just a short section of a run.
All right, now we've covered most all the techniques that you need to work on. Just remember to stand up nice and tall, reach and drive through the pole plants as you switch your pressure from ski to ski.
All right.
If you can do all this consistently with your turns, plus absorb the moguls, you'll be on your way to the Olympics. So do you have any questions with any of that so far?
Well, so far so good. I just need to remember all this.
Okay, well just concentrate on one thing at a time, because if you've experienced something once, you can always do it again.
All right.
So let's go back into the bumps and we'll work on some tactics that you can use.
Great.
Now Barton already knows how to ski the line through the moguls, so we're actually going to take it one step further and ski more direct. Because we'll be going straighter down the hill, we'll need to keep more pressure on our skis throughout each turn to control our speed.
Skiing direct is obviously fast, but as with any of these tactics, keep in mind that you use tactics only for short distances and as the terrain dictates. So you can ski direct for a few turns, then widen your turns back out to control your speed.
Okay, now you went direct for the first handful of turns, but then you got moving a bit fast.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So go ahead and turn your skis across the hill once in a while to slow back down.
Okay.
Remember to keep good pressure on your edges when skiing direct, even if you're only on the snow for an instant. As you become more comfortable, ski more direct for longer distances.
Let's go ahead now and move into the next tactic I'd like to show you.
Okay.
When you start moving a little bit faster through the moguls, you can actually scoot from one bump right over to the next without going down into the trough each time.
All right.
Okay, let's give that a try.
When you want to scoot, don't absorb so much on the mogul you're going to scoot from. Now, instead of extending down into the trough, use the energy built up in your skis to make the distance from this bump over to the top of the next one without jumping. Use your speed to carry you over without extending down into the trough. Turn in the air and land on your edges with your pole planted.
There you go.
That scooting's fun.
Yeah, it was good. Now you want to make sure that you have enough speed to make it at least to the top of the mogul or even the backside, okay? Because you don't want to land on the front, right? So you want to get the top or backside in a turn with your pole planted, and you'll be ready to go.
Keep the rhythm, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Woo.
Another tactic I like to use is opposite, okay, which is really skiing directly opposite of the natural line through the moguls.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is to connect the ridges in between the bumps. So can you see this mogul right here?
Yeah.
Which way does it go?
Goes to the skiers right.
Okay, goes off that way, right. And the next bump goes off
left.
Goes off to the left, okay, good. Now can you see the ridge in between right in here?
Okay.
And then it connects right onto that next ridge.
All right.
All right? And then onto the next one. So it should look something like this.
All right.
Whee.
Barton starts off opposite right up on the ridges, and then right here, he slides back into the trough and he's back in the line. Remember that skiing opposite is the ridge in between the moguls. Then continue by connecting these ridges. You want to be right here on the ridge in each turn.
All right, now that you know how to do all the 3 tactics we went over, you need to start to implement them into your skiing, okay? So for example, where could you go more direct through the line?
Well, I guess I could ski more direct when the sides of the bumps are real big.
Yeah, exactly. Or like you say, if you have that little zipper line and you really want to go a little bit faster, keep good pressure and go more direct through there.
All right.
Okay, the same goes for scooting. If you don't want to go down into the trough each time, you can scoot, remember, from mogul to mogul, okay? And I think you're getting the idea of opposite.
Kind of. I think I'm getting there.
All right, just remember that if you can see the ridges in between the moguls, you can usually ski opposite, because that's really all it is.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's continue on.
The whole idea when skiing bumps is to keep your turns consistent and as simple as possible, no matter how the line or the bumps change. You can accomplish this with tactics like high-low, opposite, direct, and scooting. So start looking for places to implement these tactics into your skiing.
Okay, Bart, now I know you've been catching air for years, but the maneuvers and the landings have been other stories. Okay, so for a little bit of review, we got this nice line coming into the air bump. What do you want to do right up in this section?
I guess I want to check my speed.
Yeah, exactly. You want to slow down a little bit, okay? So then that when you start to come into the air, you can run straight into it, okay? Come off both your feet with a nice 4-pointed takeoff, your arms reached out in front of you, all right? With your eyes looking straight out, not down, okay? Then as your skis leave the snow, you can begin the maneuver, all right? And then how do you want to land?
I guess on my feet.
That would be nice, okay? But really the same way as the takeoff, all right? You want to reach right out with the 4-point landing and with your eyes up, okay? Then you'll be ready to turn in either direction.
All right.
So why don't we hike up the hill and try a few?
Sounds great.
Reach for the takeoff, plant both poles at the top of the bump, extend your legs and hips up, and look ahead. After you take off, begin the maneuver, in this case a twister. Then get set for the landing by reaching your arms out and down the hill, still looking ahead. Naturally absorb the landing and get back on your turns immediately. Be sure not to get your hands too high up over your head, and when you land, you want to punch your hands forward. Bartons are too far down to the side here. A twister spread for Barton looks pretty nice. You want to keep your head up, and again, your arms not too high up over your head. You want to keep them right out in front of you. Think of a jump as a complete section of your run, from the approach to the takeoff, the aerial maneuver, and then the landing, with good, strong turns after the landing. And there's a Daffy Twister for Barton. Now remember not to get your hands up too high, that way you get stuck. You want to keep them right out in front of you. You want to look over your arm, not under it. In any double maneuver, like this twister spread, think of one trick at a time and make sure your arms are in the right position. Opposite arm pointing downhill with your other arm out to the side and slightly forward. Then open up into the spread. Keep your legs tight and controlled. Barton letting it all hang out with the Screamin' Seaman. Let's check it out here. He gets a good Daffy, gets a leg crossover, gets a trick in. He could use some more air, and he's got to keep his head up. You can see he looks down and lands back. Cossacks are similar to a spread, but bring your legs out to the side and up high. Counter this leg action by bringing your upper body forward with your arms out to the side or down in front. In the Daffy, stretch your front leg straight out in front of you as you stretch your back leg straight behind you. Keep your opposite arm in front, pointing down the hill, and your other arm out to the side. To do a Daffy Twister, first do a clean Daffy. Then, if your right leg is in front, twist your legs so that your ski tips go to your right, and vice versa. This way you'll get a good counter with your arms in the twister. Now this one looks scarier than it is. Think about doing a strong Daffy, then cross over as your skis come back together, being careful not to touch anything, then Daffy back out. Double twister for the Bartman. Again, your power is in your arms and your hips. You want to keep your arms low, not up high. And make sure to look ahead, not down. Going for the big tricks now with a Daffy Twister spread. Barton gets him in. I think he just needed a bit more air for this triple maneuver. There's a Daffy, Twister, and spread. Unfortunately, the ground's right there. To do a helicopter, extend through the takeoff, then set your hips, shoulders, and head in the direction you want to spin. Once you're comfortable with the rotation, you can put your arms in any position you like. Now here's a few jumps for fun. With solid technique and the right amount of air, anything's possible. In the heli spread, you want to spread your legs as you face up the hill. After a strong takeoff and set, pull your arms in and keep looking for a 720. With triple maneuvers, it's extremely important to have the right arm movements. Double twister spread. Counter with your opposite arm in front on each twister, then open up for the spread. Here's a variation on a Daffy Twister spread by crossing your legs in the twister. Like I said, anything's possible.
Well, Bart, that's the last of our session. You think you'll remember everything?
Well, probably not, but that's what videos are for, right?
Well, that's true. Hey, it's been great skiing with you. Good luck, and hopefully we'll be able to ski together again soon.
Looking forward to it.
All right.
Woo-hoo!
Thanks for joining me on this video clinic and on another mogul skiing adventure. I hope that you can relate to at least one of the skiers here in the tape so that you can learn by not only watching the teacher, but the students as well. Now remember, no matter what level you're at right now, there are specific techniques taught in each segment of the tape that any of us could use every day. So if you're truly ready to excel, don't just sit back and watch the air sections with your buddies all the time. Really study each part in detail and then go out on the hill and start using these techniques. Soon enough, you'll be a master of the moguls. Until next time, I'm Nelson Carmichael. See ya.
Mogul Mastery has been brought to you by Spider. The performance is built in, the rest is up to you. By Rosinal, Sheer Defiance. By Valio Sport Belts, back support for every sport. And by Steamboat, the place to ski. For information on mogul skiing programs in your area, contact the United States Ski Association at 801-649-9090 or the Canadian Ski Association at 613-748-5660. For information on summer ski camps at Mount Hood, Oregon, please contact Freestyle International at 800-805-8580.